We have some breaking news here from the Washington Post. They've reported that in the event Donald Trump is elected the next president in November, the Justice Department will continue to pursue the criminal case against him past Election Day, and that the guidance preventing prosecution against the sitting president wouldn't kick in until he actually were to become president, which would be Inauguration Day in January of 2025. According to reporting, the plan would be to continue filing motions, seeking court hearings, and potentially conducting a trial between Election Day and Inauguration Day. Why that's especially important right now is that, given the Supreme Court's recent immunity decision, it's possible that any further proceedings between Judge Chutkan and the Supreme Court might be resolved in October or November or December or even earlier, and that a trial could occur in that time. Obviously, the schedule on all of this remains to be seen, continues to be fluid, but it is telling that the DOJ is at least leaving itself some leeway to continue this prosecution in the event that Trump wins. With that said, I want to be realistic, as I always try to be. If the Supreme Court is going to go to the length of creating out of whole cloth this brand new concept of presidential immunity for the express purpose of protecting Donald Trump, then you better believe that they're also going to drag out this process of litigating any outstanding issues with Judge Chutkan to the point where Trump would be able to take office and not risk prosecution beforehand. Frankly, the Supreme Court has already got this far in their open, brazen, desperate embrace of Donald Trump. They're not going to abandon him at the 1-yard line. There's also the fact that in the event Trump wins, it won't really matter whether or not the DOJ uses an additional 90 days to prosecute Donald Trump, considering he would ultimately use the power of the presidency to pardon himself. Is that legal? Is it constitutional? Absolutely not. But has that stopped Donald Trump before? Not for a second. And if and when that issue went to the Supreme Court to resolve it, do you really think the likes of Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito or even the 3 justices who Trump himself appointed are going to stand up to him? Not going to happen. Here's the deal. We are fooling ourselves if we're ever holding out hope that these Supreme Court justices will do the right thing. I get that there's still this romanticized idea that they're these nonpartisan, fair-minded, above-the-fray of politics figures, but they're not. Clarence Thomas is little more than Jim Jordan in a robe. That's all. They are partisan hacks chosen for the court because they are partisan hacks. In fact, the only person who tried to nominate someone who wasn't partisan was probably Barack Obama nominating Merrick Garland, who is so desperate to not be viewed as political that he bends over backwards now as Attorney General, oftentimes neutralizing himself. That's the asymmetry at play here. Democrats are so desperate to uphold the system that is being attacked by the Republicans that we actually neuter ourselves in the process. Republicans like Donald Trump, like James Comer, like Jim Jordan, like Mike Johnson, like Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, for as morally repugnant and devoid of integrity as they are, know how to fight. Meanwhile, you've got Democrats like Dick Durbin and Merrick Garland and others who I'm sure are morally sound to the ends of the earth, but are so weak that it is impossible not to get completely rolled by the GOP. And when the issue that we're fighting for here is democracy, that asymmetry can and is having dangerous consequences. So look, is it good that the DOJ will extend the window to continue with its prosecutions of Donald Trump? Of course. Will it matter in the long run? Probably not. And so my contention here is this. Instead of taking scattershot measures to plug up the holes in a sinking ship, we need to rethink the ship. We are contending with a weaponized Supreme Court, so make court expansion the focus of politics right now. Demand 13 Supreme Court justices so that they're commensurate with the number of circuit courts. Run on it, get on the record, go on shows, have hearings and issue subpoenas for the existing Supreme Court justices who ignore the plain text of the Constitution. The reason they feel so emboldened to behave the way that they're behaving right now is because no one has the balls to actually hold them to account, so change that. Democrats are right now campaigning to retain the power they have in the White House and the Senate, and yet in certain instances, they refuse to actually use that power. And don't get me wrong, they use it for virtuous purposes. Let's not for a second forget that Democrats have delivered in an unprecedented way. With the slimmest of majorities, they've delivered on the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act, the Infrastructure Law, the Gun Safety Law, the Violence Against Women Act, marriage equality. They added 15 million jobs, including 800,000 manufacturing jobs and 300,000 clean energy jobs, a record high stock market, plummeting inflation, rising wages, and the strongest economy in the world. That is not by accident. That is because we have smart, capable people in office who care about this country and who want government to work. But we have to remember the other side of of this bargain. To stay in office and continue doing that good work, they need to be able to defeat a party that doesn't care about democracy, that has no scruples, that will stop at nothing to ascend to power themselves. We can't only legislate, we also have to defend our territory and our government and our democracy. It's not either or, it's both. We have to walk and chew gum at the same time. And look, I get it. These people in government probably didn't sign up to be bulldogs whose job was to combat a right-wing media machine, an aspiring dictator, and Christo-fascist Federalist Society lunatics seeking to thrust us back into the 1950s, but that's where we're at. So either we learn to fight and fight hard and give it everything we've got, or we accept the fact that we will lose. And I'm not willing to lose, and I know that you all watching this aren't either. To that point, here's a message from my Democracy Watch co-host Mark Elias for those who, very understandably, may be despairing right now. Given the sheer amount of despair that I'm sure people are feeling right now, that I'm sure you and I are feeling right now, what's your message to people today? What's the message you want to send them off with? What could we do moving forward?
Look, don't despair. I mean, this is the time to fight back. I mean, despair doesn't get you anywhere. Despair doesn't help save democracy, right? We all need to be more determined than ever to protect democracy. And that starts with making sure you are registered to vote, your friends and family are registered to vote, that you know you haven't been kicked off the ballot by the right-wing vote suppressors. And then make sure you vote, and you vote for Democrats up and down the ballot from top to absolute bottom. Make sure you know the issues. If there is a ballot initiative in your state, make sure you know about them. If you're in a state with a pro-choice ballot initiative, make sure you vote for that. And everyone needs to speak out. This is not the time to bury your head in the sand. This is the time to speak out loudly in your town square. Take to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go to your friends, your family. Stand on the street corner if you have to, and tell them that we need to fight for our democracy.
To echo Mark's point, while the situation right now may be dire, do not disengage. Take time, enjoy your 4th of July holiday, recharge, but remember that we're all in this fight together, and that the way we win together is that we show up to ensure that the demagogues and dictators don't take power, and we also show up to ensure that those who are in power actually wield it. It's not going to be easy, it's not always going to work, but democracy is messy. And I'd rather have a messy democracy than the autocratic fever dream that Republicans are trying to thrust upon us right now. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.